Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to do the lab 3.7.10. Now this is probably one of my favorite labs because you're really going to get to start seeing what packets look like as they're being transmitted over a network. And this lab can be a little daunting for a lot of students, especially if they're not used to networking before, because you don't realize how many packets can move over across your network at a time. And we start talking about 100 megabits per second. Think about that, 100 megabits per second. Well, you're starting to learn how those bits are getting transmitted. And that calculates into a lot of packets. And so we're going to see that today as you play with this lab. You're going to see those packets being captured using Wireshark. Now, caveat here about Wireshark. Wireshark is a phenomenal tool, but it's also a tool that can really take a lot of learning to get used to. In fact, I consider this to not only be an entry-level tool, but it can actually be a tool that you will use professionally. And also, if you go all the way to your master's degree or doctorate degree, you will still be using the same tool. As a packet capturing tool, there's very few like it. Well, there's a ton like it. Let me rephrase that. But it's such a great, robust tool to work with. All right, so let's begin by looking over the lab. So we're just using Wireshark to view network traffic. I'm going to use my home network here, and I'm also going to use some of the World Wide Web later on to actually ping some of the network, to ping other sites. So first off, what we're going to need is a PC. Now, if you have an additional PC on your network, that's a lot of fun. You can ping another computer. You can ping your cell phone sometimes. I tried pinging my iPhone earlier. It wasn't responding to pings. But you can sometimes ping other devices. If you have Rokus in your house, you should be able to ping those. So it's kind of fun to see what devices on your network will respond to an ICMP ping. By the way, this is a tool that we can sometimes we'll call reconnaissance. If you're on a network that you don't own or a network you do own and you want to see who all's there, you can actually use a ping sweep and actually see what other devices may be connected and who will respond to your pings. It's kind of a lot of fun. So it's way beyond the scope of this class, but just keep in mind, ping is a very powerful tool. So we need another device, or I'm going to use the default gateway on my network. So I know every one of you has a default gateway. Some of your IP addresses may be different, but I know you have to have a default gateway. If you've done any reading so far, you know that every network has a default gateway, and so we know, at least if you're at home, your default gateway should respond to your ping. If you're at Sinclair doing this, it will not. Sinclair's routers do not respond to pings. So let's capture and analyze local ICMP traffic with Wireshark. Hopefully you've already installed Wireshark. I was going to show you some of the interfaces here. This is another thing. So you can see some of this traffic that's happening. When you see the interface and you see these little peaks, that is actual network traffic that's happening. And so as you see here, this is my Wi-Fi connection, which is what I'm currently on. It's a pretty quiet connection. Now, my adapter for loopback traffic is really noisy. I'm not sure what I've installed on this computer, but it's really an active connection and it's being really noisy. So just keep that in mind. You may have some interfaces that are not listed on mine, and that's completely normal. So let's begin by finding the IP address of your computer. Now, we're going to use the ipconfig/all command. So to find that, we're going to go down and press the start button. Then we're going to type in CMD, which is the command prompt. Press enter, and now we'll type in ipconfig/all. Now this is going to put a lot of things on my screen, so we'll learn more about this screen as we go through the course. But just be aware, this does have your IP address information. So again, if I look at my wireless LAN adapter, I can see my IP address is 192.168.1.25. My subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. I obtained my lease today, this morning, May 31st at 3:20 in the afternoon. And then you can see my lease is good till tomorrow. Now, again, that's my home router that sets up those leases. And we'll learn more about that in the second semester about DHCP and setting up leases. Now, here's my default gateway. This is going to be the address that I'm going to be pinging for this lab today. I'm going to be pinging 192.168.1.1. Again, your default gateway may be different. And if you have Time Warner or AT&T internet service, it's very likely that you're now running an IPv6 network. If that's the case, you're going to have to do a little bit of updating. You'll be using ICMP v6. And all your IP addresses will be version 6, which again, you've learned about so far in this chapter, so you should be good to go. All right, so we found the IP address. Now, this is also a good opportunity if you want to ping another device on your network, which I highly recommend outside of your gateway. Go find that IP address. If you've got a cell phone, you can usually find the IP address. If you'll simply Google, how do I find an IP address on my phone, or what a device you have, there'll usually be step-by-step guides on finding IP addresses on your phone, and I would recommend learning how to do this. You need to find IP addresses pretty readily. Again, you've got a lot of things on your network. If you're anything like mine, I've got 68 devices on my network right now, so I have no problem finding a device to ping. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start Wireshark. And I'm going to do this now because I want to show you how this is going to look. And so we're going to start Wireshark. So I select the interface, I press Start, and I'm going to immediately be getting a barrage of packets. And I'm just going to be getting tons of packets being sent through. And the longer I run this, the more packets I'm going to get. Don't get overwhelmed by this. Again, this is a great tool for a beginner, but it can be very overwhelming. And we're going to spend the next 3 semesters digging into this tool, and we're going to use this tool over and over and over again to really understand what we're trying to accomplish and what we're doing. So as we go along, and you see I've already captured 269 packets already just in the last little bit of time. And again, there are some times where you can actually see how long. So we've gone for 37 seconds. You can see all the packets that are hitting. Going back to the lab now, what it wants us to do is it wants us to ping. Now it says ping the 192.168.1.114. It is not likely that you have a computer on that network. You probably don't have a device on your network with that IP address. Again, we're going to use a default gateway for this example. So I'm going to go back to my command prompt again. I'm going to type in the ping 192.168.1.1. Again, that was the default gateway, and I'm going to run that. Now, luckily, and I kind of did this before, so it's going to work, I know that I have 4 good replies. I see a reply from 192.168.1.1. Again, think about ping. This is like the old submarine movies. We're like, oh, hey, Captain, is there somebody there? Let's ping them. Ping! Off their submarine, and we hear that ping come back to us. That lets us know that is someone's there. Now, I got to be honest, you're going to find out later on, we don't always respond to those pings. Now, so it's kind of like a soft pillow around the submarine that absorbs the ping and tries to make Steph. And we call that security by obscurity. So if you're ever in a situation where you're like, I know I have this IP address, why is it not pinging? It could be because the device is in stealth mode. By the way, a lot of Windows 10 computers now, their firewall is set to not respond to ICMP pings. Windows 10 will not always respond to ICMP packets. So keep that in mind. Doesn't mean it's broken. Does mean sometimes you got to do a little bit more work. All right, so let's jump back now to our lab. Now that we pinged, the lab says to go into Wireshark, and we're going to use something called a filter. Filters are how we use Wireshark, because as we jump back into Wireshark, we're going to see we've already captured 1,089 packets. That's a whole lot of packets. But if we go up here and we type in ICMP, oh, look how pretty that is. Now we only see, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 packets, but that doesn't add up. Hang on, that doesn't make sense, does it? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pings. Why do I have 8 packets? Oh, remember, we're pinging to the site, and they're responding back. So we have 2 packets per ping. So now, this should be enough to now get you started where you can dig in and find the information that the lab is wanting you to know, like what's the MAC address of that other device, and how long did it take, and did it work, and that sort of thing. Real quickly, let's now try pinging a remote site. I'm going to try pinging the Cisco.com. So let's do ping Cisco.com. And again, I see that ping sent, and now you can see the background. In real time, since I have that filter applied, I'm seeing that ping being sent and the response back from Cisco.com. I can also see that 172.163.4.182, that's the IP address I got tonight. That may not be the IP address you get. Remember, IP addresses will change frequently, and it also depends on who your DNS server is, who your ISP is. There's a whole lot of other things that go into this, but just keep in mind that doesn't have to match. That's what mine is. My address is for tonight. It worked. It's going to be different for you if you do this later on. All right, so hopefully that's enough to get you started. Let me know if you have any other questions. Have a good one.